Hi, welcome to the Reentry Faith Initiative YouTube channel. I'm Brother Hector, and in today's video, I'd like to talk about the differences between jail ministry or prison ministry and reentry ministry, what the differences are, and what are the pros and cons for your specific congregation or your specific faith group getting involved in either or. Okay, maybe it's right now you're trying to figure out, should I invest all my energy into ministering within the institutions, or should I start focusing maybe on reentry? You're having that debate or that conversation with your church or your faith group. So I wanted to clarify a little bit of differences between those two, and really point out the fact that even though they're two separate ministries, these two ministries are connected and they go hand in hand, and we need each other. So a little bit about my history. I started out in prison ministry, but I came to understand, and I believe it was a leading of God to allow me to understand and see that these individuals are coming home and they need support when they come home. I started seeing that there was a lot of drop off between them affirming in their faith and learning about the gospel, or just learning about, whatever faith tradition they belong to, while they were incarcerated. And then when they got home, there was a lot of drop off, and it didn't, and to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter what religion it is. So what it is, it's that, a lot of these individuals aren't being rooted, aren't growing in their faith the way, so we can grow completely out here. Out here, we hear a sermon on Sunday, and we could go home right away and put it in practice. But within a prison institution or a jail institution, it's very tough to put in practice the Word of God. It's not impossible, but it is a little bit tougher and a little bit trickier, because there's a lot of things that happen within those institutions, and there's a lot of control and a lot of different situations. So an inmate a lot of time can't really act out or live out or practice what they're hearing from a preacher coming in. So they want to they want to experience that new life. They want to experience all the blessings. They want to experience it. But it's really different when you're dealing with another inmate. When you're an inmate yourself, you're dealing with another inmate. That's really different than when you come home and you're having to talk to your kids again. You're having to talk to your ex-wife again. You're having to talk to your, your parents that are upset with you because, you burned some bridges. It's really different. Those are two different environments. So a lot of times they're hearing all the good stuff that they should do. While they're incarcerated, they're hearing all these good messages. Good preachers are coming into the institutions. But what happens when they come home? There's really no pastoral care or mentorship that can help them apply those lessons that they heard, while they were incarcerated. So that's a little bit of a big picture about what happens between these two ministries. So jail ministry and prison ministry requires you to go through some sort of superficial, I wouldn't say superficial, but just regular, I say orientation process that is set by the institution. So every institution is different. And every county is a little bit different. Every state prison is a little bit different. So every institution has its own criteria about their religious volunteers. So you can be a pastor out here. You can be a bishop. You can be an elder in your respective denomination or your religion. You can be a high-ranking official in the community. But when you enter into prison ministry, a lot of that is taken away. A lot of that authority, that you feel out in the community, in there, you're just a chapel volunteer. You're just a religious volunteer. So, you do go in and you do speak as a pastor. You do speak as an elder in the church, as somebody who has a lot of experience, but it's not the same. So, there has to be a humility to the people that are coming in, and there has to be an acceptance that you're not in charge. The institution staff is in charge. And so when they say service is over or you need to stop, that service stops. And so there's a lot of rules, a lot of control about how services are handled within the institution, and there's a lot of rules and regulations on our conduct and how we need to conduct ourselves within the institution. A lot of do's and don'ts, a lot of over familiarity stipulations in place. So one of those rules that's pretty common even within all these different institutions is that there shouldn't be, or at least here in the county that I'm in now, there can't be contact. If you're a chapel volunteer or a religious volunteer, you can't continue that relationship outside of custody. And that's something that the sheriff in this county has instituted. And I've also heard other counties and other state prisons having something similar. So it just depends on the institution that you're in. It depends on the county that you're in. And so it also depends on what type of service you're providing in there. So if it's just regular church service is different than going in as a mentoring program or as a reentry program within the institution, because a reentry program has the expectation that you're also going to continue that relationship. But also when you go in as a reentry program, that faith-based part is kind of tricky. So I can go into a lot of that, but for time's sake, I don't want to take too much time into that, but I do want to come now to the reentry side. The reentry side is interesting because right now there's a lot of community resources. There's a lot of investment happening, within, different counties, again, different cities, and all throughout the state of California and all throughout the United States. Actually, there's a lot of reentry programs that are growing and just becoming stronger, and that's because a lot of the government has understood that they need to start investing on programs to help the individuals when they come home. And so as a church or as a faith community, we should also pay attention to that. There's a lot of opportunities out here to get involved into this type of work. I know in the county that I work in Contra Costa County, we're constantly looking for faith groups that are willing to get involved with the work, that are willing to partner up with us, or even just refer people to us and connect to us. Because at the end of the day, we're helping the same people. The people that we're touching at work that are just coming home from different facilities are in I'd say the majority have some sort of substance use problem or have some sort of emotional trauma, and they need that spiritual support. And so there's a lot of work that can be done on the reentry side, even if you're a faith-based program, and especially if you're a faith-based program, because what happens is that I can, as a case manager or as a secular CBO, community-based organization, I can provide somebody housing. But really, my hands are tied when when it comes down to really addressing the spiritual need of the person because of certain laws and certain stigma around faith and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, that's another video. So because there's that line that a lot of people are sensitive about, I can't minister to somebody on my job as I could if I was functioning as a pastor or functioning as a community chaplain. So reentry is really reentry ministry and reentry outreach in general is really resource heavy, resource focused. So as I'm looking into building a reentry outreach ministry. I'm looking at what resources are available for people that are formerly incarcerated. And so I want to know, I want to start learning about how many people in my church, in my congregation, have in the past 3 years been in custody or have recently been released from state prison. I started looking at that. And so, it's about changing the culture also within the church, in the community, that, let's open up to start addressing this issue. Let's talk about this, let's talk about what people go through while they're incarcerated, because it is a traumatic event. It is pretty traumatic, to have to, strip down and get searched, men or women. So there's a lot of things, not just that can cause trauma in a person. And so when they come out, it's really important to talk about certain things. So maybe you're not going to talk about it in an open church setting, but maybe that person is needing one-on-one spiritual support, one-on-one counseling, biblical counseling with a mature faith leader, mature, church member, that can attend to that. So there's a lot of need. There's a lot of opportunity here. But it's all depends on the church, on the faith group itself, to see and really know itself and what it has the capacity to do. If you're a pastor, if you're a young pastor, if you're a young faith leader who you're just barely getting established, and doing this type of work, it's about starting, in jail ministry, because that's easier, because that's already a thing. It's maybe you have experience working, with different nonprofits, and how to get along with different organizations and how to build relationships, with other groups. Well, reentry is a great place to start. So it just depends on your specific style, your specific strengths, and so again, I'm here as a resource. I consider myself a resource for the church, a resource for the faith community, and a resource for anybody who needs anything. If I don't have it, I try to figure out a way to get it. So that's just the way God wired me, to where I'm always trying to find solutions. If I don't have the answer, let's go try to find it together. So, that's it. That's today's video. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to post them on the bottom, or send me an email. I'll go ahead and put my email on the description, and I'll also put my direct contact number on there. So if you have any desire to, learn more, please reach out to me. And just heads up, I will be coming out with another video soon, in regards to a big reentry fellowship type event that we're having in January in Northern California, in Contra Costa County specifically. If your faith group or your church would like to attend, I'm gonna give you all the details. So stay tuned with that. And God bless you, everybody. Have a great day, and let's move forward in Jesus' name.